But when we do visit the farm, for us, it starts at 3:45 in the morning. You start waking up because you hear this lady doing tortillas, and you hear this sound. And so you're like waking up, and then you go back to sleep because you're like, oh. But it totally is. It's the time that you know at the farm things are starting. And by 5 o'clock, you hear all the people coming down and from their campamentos, which is where they are staying, especially when we go during harvest. So they come in and they get their breakfast like around 5:30 in the morning. And so by that time, it's just beautiful up there. And we wake up and it's coffee, the first thing that you have. Then we have a big breakfast, and you just see all the workers with their baskets, and they get breakfast in the morning. This lady that's been awake since 3 o'clock in the morning, has a big pot of beans. Like it looks like a soup, but it's not a soup. It's just boiled beans, and then they get the tortilla, the rice, the beans, and then they go out to work around 6:30. And so it starts very early. But it's just a fun time. It's so natural, just, walking around. And then the picking starts that early.
So you'll see all the farmers out picking the coffee in the farm, but then the kids are in the school. For kids, there's always something going on in the School of Technical Training for the adults, or in the cupping area also. There's people going up and down and different offices and the cabins, There's a health clinic also on the side. So it's, it's a full day. And then in the afternoon, after the pickers get all the coffee, they go to a central location wherever they are in the mountains. They collect all the coffees, and then the whole bulk of sherries, they're brought down to the mill and for processing. And then usually the day ends around 4 o'clock or so. And then by 6 o'clock it's dark. It's up in the mountains, there's no power, so 6 o'clock is dark, everybody goes to bed around 7 o'clock, and next day, repeat.
So El Recreo is my dad's farm in Jinotega, Nicaragua. It's a farm that my dad has had for almost 53 years. And it's been in my family, and it's been worked by my dad. El Recreo means recess in Spanish. When you go to school, it means that you go to recreo when you have a break. So my dad named his farm El Recreo because at the beginning, when he first got it 53 years ago, it was like his recess. He was going to be like his hobby. Let alone now, it's his work. But that's what El Recreo came to be. And now it's a farm that's 364 acres in the mountains of Nicaragua. This is in the north part of Nicaragua in a town that's called Jinotega. And it's a beautiful farm. It's a coffee farm. We grow different varietals of coffee there. And it's from the Ferrey family. So my dad is a geologist, with a he went to university for that. Yeah, so very early on, this was in the 70s, and very early on, my dad saw that coffee was a way of getting to people. My parents have always been also very supportive that you need to be somebody that gives jobs because that's what sustains others. And I think him falling in love with the people that were there. I remember, a little girl just going and seeing the relationship that my dad fomented with even the farmers that were around. And as soon as he was able to invest, because this farm was a coffee farm, but it was it hardly had any coffees and any coffee plants. So when he was able to see, that it was producing, and that it was not only producing for him to have a harvest, but producing jobs for other people, and it just became that, it transformed through time, but with the purpose of it, what the harvest brought each year. And then, with my dad, there was hardships even in the country that, put stops to his desire, but him fighting through even those hardships, I think him falling in love with it, it wasn't more about recess, it was more of a passion now. So the school was one of the first things that my mom implemented, and I think it was in the 80s that she got this building that is called our school, but it's a building with one room, and then there is another across the road. I was going to say across the street, but it's the road. 2 rooms where babies are taken care of. This is also just open during the harvest time, where there's more families that bring their kids. Originally in the 80s, we had more people that worked at the farm that lived in the farm. And so there were more families. There were like around 40 to 50 families that lived in the farm year round. Through time, people are now owning their own little home. And so they're living close to the farm, but not in the farm. So that's really good news. But at the same time, with the school, then it's more used during harvest time, because that's when all the kids are in. And I think it was 82. Around 82, my mom said, when they were restructuring more of the farm after a long period of not being there, she said no more, there's no kids that are gonna be able to work, and that was a period when the school developed more. So a day in the school is that they come in, there's one teacher, so it's a multi-grade school. They can go from kindergarten to 4th grade. And then they divide them up according to their age and the material that they give them. But it's just fun to see that the kids are, just having that opportunity to get educated. And so their parents drop them off, they go out to work in the fields, and then the teacher stays with them the whole day. We also have like a little playground next to the school. Very simple, but the kids love it. And then she takes them for breakfast, she takes them for lunch, and then the parents pick them up at 3 o'clock. This school is certified, like it's not like somebody from the farm just taking care of the kids. It's a teacher that we pay, that's from the Ministry of Education certified, and so she gets like everything from the education department, and all the the books, her scheduling, everything is through the education department of Nicaragua. And then the kids have to take a test after each end of the year, and so that they see how they learned, and if they can go to the next grade. And then after 4th grade, we have a town that's called Pueblo Nuevo, close to our farm, where there is like a school for each grade. And so we sponsor the kids that graduate from our farm. We sponsor them to go to that school. And so we pay them for like their transportation. which is in a little motorcycle, and they have this box stuck in this motorcycle, and 4 kids go in there. So, and that's how they, go to school. So I just tell you that because it's very a poor country, and so anything that we are doing is something that's humongous. It's like, for them to not walk to that school, it's a big deal, because the majority of kids, that's what they do. They walk an hour or 2 hours to get to their school. And then, we sponsor that to be able to go to those schools.
Yeah, and this is not the norm in the farms in Nicaragua. I mean, usually the little kids start working very early in their life, because mom and dad needs extra hands to get more money. That's the reason. So in all the other farms, the kids work. But Doña Leanna, Miriam's mom, she said, no, let's go back to the future, let's say, and let's do an interruption in poverty here with education, and let's bring the kids to the school. And while mom and dad are working at the farm, the kids are going to be educated in some ways that they can keep moving forward with that education and get a future job or whatever. So and every time we go, we bring suitcases full of pencils, erasers, notebooks, and stuff just for them. You should see in their eyes like, what? This is for me, or a little backpack or something, wow. It's beautiful, yeah. But I dressed as Santa Claus. During 2 Decembers that we went there, it was a Santa Claus, and I was like, how am I going to fill up all this, and I couldn't even walk, but then I was like, do they know who Santa Claus is? They were going to say like this monster right in front of me. But and we were handing out gift, and again, whatever is everything. Right. For them, and we were handing out all these gifts, and you could see again their faces and their emotions, So that moment I will never forget, just to bring happiness to those kids, and the parents behind, get that one, get that doll there, or that, yeah, it was great.
So the School for Technical Training has been around for 10 years. So at the very, very first, when it started, it was more meant for people that were living at the farm. So it's and then little farmers with small lots around our farm. So it was easy for them to know about it, because word of mouth, one person, oh, did you know what El Recreo is doing, and go sign up, or things like that. It also started where our workers were going to be taught after 3 o'clock, when their time picking or working finished. There were 2 hours before dinner that they would learn how to read and write. And so that was a huge, just word of mouth again. Even if they were not at Recreo and they were in the surrounding areas, people would know, they're teaching us how to read or write. So that started at the very beginning. Now it's known in Jinotega, which is like the state, in Nicaragua. It's in the north part of the country. And so El Recreo, La Escuela del Café El Recreo, that's the name in Spanish. It's known, and so people, even owners of farms that are medium-sized like ours, would send their workers to come to this school so that they can get educated and come to their farm. So it was, it's something that's evolved through time. But I think now it's more, okay, it's a school, you have to register, you have to, the school runs only after harvest, because that's when people have the time. During harvest, it's full of time, just picking coffee and working. So now different organizations recommend it. like there's teachers that come from Managua, from the agriculture college in the University of Managua, that say this is a great school for you to go. One thing, I have never seen it like totally in action, because when I go it's like a week and then I come back. But when we've done SCAA, and people that come to SCAA, and just people that are farmers from Nicaragua, or people that are with the Organization of Coffee from Nicaragua, they'll see our booth and they'll say, I went to that school, and they don't know me, but they know about the school. So I know that now people, have found out through just even universities. And they've been around, so each season, there are around 100 graduates. And so multiply that by 10. And it's just, for some of them, they have to register, and it's like $25 or something like that, or there's scholarships that are given. And what I love about it, and I think this is what motivates a lot of people to talk about it, is that teachers come and even donate their time to be able to, give more like professional education than just. My mom also has a saying, she even wrote it to me today, that's why it's in my brain. She says this, the farm is the school and the school is the farm. So when people come to the farm, and there is a building, a huge building with like a little classroom, and there's another rancho, like a ranch, yeah, like a ranch with tables where people eat. But that's a school, definitely. But my mom has in her heart that El Recreo teaches, because they come and they visit the mountains or the plantations or our recycling ways or that. So.
But throughout the years, it has evolved from teaching how to write and read to now they give out seminars of sustainability, eco-friendly practices, agriculture methods. So those different proctors and small farmers around the farm can learn how to do their farming in better ways, so they can sell the coffee at higher prices. Because sometimes there are soils around there that are precious, they're really good coffee, but they don't know how to keep cultivating that.
I'm gonna tell you a new one, I think.
Okay, yeah.
No, like every time we go to the farm, we get together like a leadership group, and just watching those men that maybe never been even outside Jinotega, meet people that were coming because they were interested in what they were doing, and just them standing in a line, introducing themselves and talking about who they are at the farm and what they do. And having one specifically is Marvin. He was born at the farm, and he was able to learn how to read and write at the farm. And then he became a picker, and then he became somebody that was leading groups, and now he's part of the leadership. Now he's a man, married. And so I seen him in those cycles, and so I remember seeing him introduce himself with lots of humility, but with a position, and seeing their faces, right, of satisfaction of I'm doing this and I'm important.
I would say hard work. If you see one day in the life of a farmer, you'll end up exhausted. It's hard work, dedication, and just for one cup of coffee, it takes many hands just picking up the coffee, and it's the whole process behind it. It's a lot. And you can drink it very fast, but that meant hours of operation and heart and dedication behind it.
Yeah, I was gonna also follow up with just knowing that every process was done with love. You know, like I know the pickers, you know, and I know how much they love working at Recreo. And I know my dad, you know, how much he loves being able to produce a quality product. And even though in Nicaragua, it's so hard to find even the vitamins for the plant, you know, but they get the best vitamins so that they can get the best coffee. And so because they love what they're doing. And so I hope that everybody that gets a cup of coffee knows that it was produced by many hands, like Hector said, you know, many hands. There's so many processes that go into that cup of coffee. But in all those hands, there's a lot of love that goes into what they're doing in that moment in time of that process.
Mm-hmm. And also that it's done in the right way. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's so many ways to take shortcuts here and there,
Yes.
just to end up with a product quickly and let me go to the next one. But in Recreo, we try to do things right, no matter how long does it take, but just to do them right, because quality is very important for us.
And it's done with lots of sacrifice. Yeah. You know, my dad has gone through so much in his life to be able to protect the farm. The workers, you know, they go through a lot. Weather, I mean, this is hills, and they have to be like standing on a hill to pick the cherries. Mm-hmm. You know, it's hard work, and it took hard work for, you know, those roasted beans to be able to be brewed into a cup of coffee. So, a lot of sacrifice and hard work. So I share that at the beginning of the farm, I hated going to the farm because there was no bathroom, no nothing. And so as a teenager, I was 12. It was like, and now, you know, 50 years later, I just love it. And, you know, I was telling somebody, Rich's Marianne, just as a teenager, you never appreciate what your parents have. Well, not never, but most, you know, and I didn't. And so now, as a 53-year-old woman, I love and I appreciate, and I'm so thankful for my dad's just sacrifice and my mom's heart. So just seeing them, so I don't know the moment, but I just know moments where I've been with my dad at the farm and we're like in this, you guys went, it's there's a viewpoint and you see like endless plantations or endless coffee trees. And I've been with him in those, at that location and just seeing his happiness. Yeah. Yeah, that's been good. So what I see, it's that many eyes see this in different ways. Like from my eyes as a daughter of the farmer, I see it as an opportunity to partner with a company that has amazing values and amazing just standards to helping people around them. And so I see it as an opportunity to have my parents' labor of love through their farm be given to somebody that's gonna take care of it. But from my dad's eyes, it's an opportunity for something that he's grown for 50 years, be able to not only sell it to an exporter like he used to, but having somebody buy that coffee, and now he can touch a bag of coffee that's his coffee. So that's an amazing opportunity for him as a farmer. Yeah, I think my parents, both of them, have come in their life fighting for what they have. So they understand in their own person what it is to be poor. They understand what it is to be in need. And so as they've developed and been blessed, you know, to be able to have a farm, to have a way to survive, I think my moms also believe in the good of the people. Ever since I was a little girl, I remember my mom having even dining rooms for the elderly, or having those Christmas parties for kids. And so what I've seen her develop is just a desire that the world is bigger than your space. And I just see them giving because they know that the people need it, and especially in Nicaragua, where there is such a poverty country. My dad was asked that question one time, and he says the satisfaction to know that your life had an impact in other people. When he's talked about the students that graduate from technical school, like the little farmers, the small farmers that come to the school and graduate and become better in their farming, and then they see my dad and say, thank you, you know, thank you for helping me be a better farmer. And just that satisfaction that, you know, you did something good for somebody that can improve their lives.
Yeah, and I think that their religious beliefs are motivating them also to care for others. And that's why they're very into breaking the circle of poverty there with education. And they open up a school for kids there at the farm, a school of technical training for the adults. And they just want to others to be educated so they can grow as human beings, but at the same time the farmers to be able to grow in their knowledge, to be able at the same time to sell their coffee at higher prices and have a better life. And that's their heart. And much of the social responsible areas are based on that heart of wanting to see others grow and have a better life.
What's in it for me? So it's the help of, like, even me leaving the ministry to be able to start Recreo and bring it and become an importer. It's a satisfaction of knowing that my parents are going to be okay. I think I know periods in the last 10, 11 years since we started bringing coffee into the U.S. directly, that my parents would not have had the farm, that they would have lost it, that they couldn't have supported, either because you know, life in Nicaragua became super hard, the pandemic. There's so many periods of times in the last 10 years that were super, super hard, that if we hadn't helped them, they would not have it. I think for me it's a satisfaction, like it's a passion that I have to even promote the social practices that we're doing. Like before BIGGBY started purchasing our coffee in partnership, we would support it, like through Boston and through what we were doing. With one container, we could pay one teacher. You know, we could pay a nurse to come maybe once a month. But now, you know, it's a satisfaction of knowing, wow, there's so much more that we can do. And I love, you know, I could tell you Juana and, you know, Lenin and Sylvia and Marvin. There's people that I know that are there and that I know their kids. And so for me, it's a satisfaction.
Yeah, and sometimes, you know, we are sitting in our couch in our in the living room watching TV, the news, reading the paper, and you see all this need out there in different countries. And you start thinking, oh, I wish I could do something about it. But it stays there because what can I do from here? You know, but now I know that for every cup of coffee that we can give out to someone or that someone can buy, it's supporting the farm. It's supporting the 20 plus families at the farm. It's supporting the school for kids, the school of technical training. So what can I do? Yeah, maybe, oh, let me get this cup of coffee that it's for my enjoyment. But to know that through Recreo Coffee, through BIGGBY Coffee, that cup of coffee means something in the life of the people there in Nicaragua. And maybe you think we can't do much, but if you do a cup of coffee every day, you're doing a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not common, right? You know, it's not a common practice. I think it's a common ideal in a lot of places. Like a lot of places want, oh, I want to buy from a farmer. But what they do is they buy from an importer that buys from an exporter that buys from a farmer. So there's so many chains behind that, and they call that farm direct because, you know, it's coming from a farm, but they don't know that farmer. The common way for farms I think in coffee and all over the world is there's a farmer, and even in Nicaragua, that's what my parents used to do. They produce the coffee, then they sell it to an exporter in Nicaragua. And that exporter sells it wherever he wants, at the price that he wants, no matter what he paid that farmer. So if you go to Jinotega, which is the closest town to the farm, there's a huge road that you go through, and almost every other building says, compramos café, we buy coffee. And that's somebody that, you know, just farmers come with their trucks full of coffee and they need the money right now, so they don't, you know, they sell it at whatever price they get. Then another sad practice that my parents had to even go through at the beginning, it's what they call coyotes, which is just people that are buying coffee, you know, underground, you could say, and they're just exploding. I mean, they're just selling the coffee even below price from the market. And so that's, you know, it's a sad way of, they're there, and it's popular, especially because farmers need to be, you know, they need to survive, they need their food, and so they don't want to wait for like even good prices. They need it, you know. And so coyotes, what they're called that, or even those stores that I'm telling you in Jinotega that say they buy green coffee, just give whatever for that coffee. So farm direct is not popular. It's not a popular practice. It's a lot of people want it, but not, you know, what I see right now with BIGGBY is that it's real. You know, there's somebody buying this coffee that really doesn't only want the product, but want the connection. You know, they are coming to the farm, they're concerned for my mom and dad. They, you know, it's not 1 year, like they buy the coffee, that's done deal. No, there's meetings, there's times, there's phone calls, how are your parents, how's the farm? They're beyond just buying a product. And so I just really feel that it's important to love others because we're not in this world alone. You know, we're part of something bigger, and we need each other. We're talking about poverty, right? You know, in this case, because Nicaragua is so poor, and you know, the help that you can give to a poor country, when you help it not as a charity, but as a feeling of, I want you to be better, it's medicine for you also.
Yeah, and I think that I mean, we can speak different languages and not understand each other, or we can like different food or different styles of things and don't agree with each other, but everybody understand a hug, and everybody understand an encouragement, and everybody wants to be loved, and I think that's a common denominator among humanity is love and wanting to be loved, and that's something that unites us.
I can answer about us, right? It's heavy because I don't know why, to be really honest. You know, we have had roasters visit our farm that wanted to have that relationship with our farm. We've had others. You know, we started importing in 2011. We just met Bob and Michelle and BIGGBY in 2019. So there's 8 years of importing. And so we've had roasters that have wanted to have that relationship. And they visit a farm, but they've come and go. So I don't know why. It's something that in the industry, it's not as connecting. But in our story, what we've seen with BIGGBY specifically is that it's not an ideal. It's not a good idea. It's an action. And it's only been a year and a half. But we feel a connection and a genuine interest in the people, not only the product, that it's real. You know, it's happening, and it's not only in a talk. It's there. It's been there. You know, we've given 8 containers of our farm to BIGGBY, and we see BIGGBY best. You know, and we see the bag, and we know our coffee's there. So it's not an idea. It's not just even a marketing idea. We see Bob protecting even the farm, and in a way that it's very special. You know, so I just think that it's the way to go, because you want to have that connection with a farmer. You want to make sure that you're not just feeding different organizations and all those layers of people before, you know, to get to the farmer. You can really do very good work, and it goes a longer way when you do have a farm direct relationship.
Yeah.
We feel it like an honor. He's just excited. There's plantations. There's 40 manzanas, 40 acres of farms that are replanted. So that's 100 and how many? 132,000 plants that are just that were planted. So that's a humongous, you know, project, because in 3 years that means that's, you know,
3 containers.
Yeah, 3 containers, and there's just parts of the farm that are gonna be able to be restored, and plants that, you know, need to be pruned, can be pruned, because there is the material to do them again. There's, for years, a lot of times, even though that was the need of the schedule in the farm, they couldn't, you know. And so now there's just plans to make the farm produce more coffee, because BIGGBY needs more coffee. And for me, also, one of my biggest joys right now is that you guys are feeling that, but imagine the people that have been growing this coffee for 50 years, that until now they can feel, wow, somebody's loving your coffee. Even I always say that I want my glasses, I wish I was in Mission Impossible or something. They could put a little camera. And there's so many moments like what you just shared that I wish I could just tape and show my dad, or show Jenny, who's like one of the women that picks more coffee the fastest. Like we have like the same way you have like the best barista of the year. So over there we have the best picker, and it's Jenny. That's her name. And I just hope, you know, someday that she can understand that too, like that, right? And I feel that this partnership, because it's real, it's gonna not only get to me and my dad, but it's gonna get to the workers. You know, it's gonna get to Lenin and Marcos and all, you know, and Carlos, that they can know, you know, the work and the sacrifice they make us working for Recreo. It's appreciated. So it's a circle of love. I really do believe that.
Yeah, for me, one big island space is that no matter what race you are, no matter what nationality, what language, we can all enjoy the same cup of coffee, and that will unite us, and we have fun.
But for me, as with Recreo, is that, you know, in this world we can all love each other and help each other, no matter who we are.